Hi, sixth graders, it's Mrs. McWilliams. We're going to do a really short discussion over what we learned across the last few days in class when it talks about blood vessels, okay? So if you want to get out your progress tracker, remember it looks like this. Should have the How Do Living Things Heal at the very top, okay? So, and if you don't have that, then you'll have to follow along and you'll need a copy when you get back, okay? But if you have it, let's go ahead and write down our ideas for this next lesson, okay? We're in lesson 4. And we're looking at this idea of why were blood vessels all over the body, okay? Why did we have them all throughout their entire body? Remember we looked at that picture of that person that was preserved in the museum with all the blood vessels and the only thing that was left, okay? And then we kind of looked at what we thought was in blood, and then we looked under the microscope at what blood actually was and got to see that there were about 3 to 4 structures that were under the blood. But we also knew that not only are blood vessels everywhere, but one of the things that we learned was that blood vessels are kind of a carrier for blood. Okay, so our first thing is blood vessels help blood, So blood vessels help blood get to everywhere in the body. Okay, so remember how the entire preserved blood vessels kind of made up the entire person? Okay, that's because all the blood needs to get to all the different places. And we knew that because blood vessels have blood in them. And remember there are 4 different things that were in blood. Okay, so if we go back and look at our diagram, okay, this is kind of what we saw under the microscope. All right, and if you remember correctly, okay, there were 4 different things, okay? First thing is these huge kind of purple-looking structures. Remember those were white blood cells. Those were the very large ones. They were kind of large, usually much larger than these right here, which are red blood cells. The white blood cells tend to be much larger because, remember, their function is that they attack, and they're kind of our defense mechanism that kind of kills off any infections or diseases. They're the things that help us get better when we're sick because they fight anything off that's not supposed to be in our body. Okay. While red blood cells, remember, they have sometimes these kind of little dents in the middle. As you see, like kind of I'm drawing, it looks like here, sometimes they have little ones, or sometimes they're much bigger. See if I can find one that has a huge dent in it. Okay, like this one or this one. I remember those function because it carries oxygen to all the different parts of our body, all right, and we need oxygen to survive, so it's kind of like a carrier for that. Whereas all this kind of space in between here and here and here, remember all of this is that blood plasma. Okay. Remember, blood plasma helps bring water and food and vitamins and different things to all the different places in our body. Plasma, okay, as well as gets rid of waste products. Doesn't need anything that we don't need. All right. And then platelets are these itty bitty little things which are in blood plasma. And remember, platelets help kind of cover a blood vessel when it breaks or ruptures, okay? And then it kind of is long and it's tentacle-like, and then it kind of creates kind of this barrier. That's where your body starts to form a scab over the top. If it's an outer interior thing, the platelets come and it kind of creates that scab sort of look for it, okay? So remember, those are all the different pieces. So then if we go back to our progress tracker, we'll go ahead and note that in here. So blood vessels are going to help blood get to everywhere in the body, and blood is made up of, and we're going to list them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to put one more thing down here, okay? We're going to put one more thing down here. So we're going to put white blood cells, these guys fight infections or diseases. We have red blood cells. These carry oxygen. Plasma gives nutrients and gets rid of waste. And then platelets clot blood, okay? All right, so those are the 4 big ones that we did, okay? You can also draw a picture if you'd like. So if you wanted to draw a picture kind of down here, you can draw kind of all these little circles all around. Remember, those are white blood cells. We'll draw this big kind of filled in ones, which are much bigger. Okay, and then you can do little dots in here. All right, and then we can kind of number them. So platelets are the little dots. Red blood cells are these. Okay, here's white blood cells. And then all this stuff in the middle is plasma. Okay. So all that stuff in the middle. And remember, okay, we're still talking about this idea of structure and function. Remember, structure is what it looks like or what it appears like, and function is what it does, okay? So we have the structure. The white blood cells are kind of those big ones. Red blood cells are a little smaller, and they have kind of dents in them. Plasma is kind of fluid-like. It's all the other stuff. And platelets are like tentacles. It's kind of like a bridge. It's creating kind of like a bridge, if you will, to kind of clot it, all right? And remember that all of these things are working together. So all these parts, so all these structures, all structures function to work together in the body, okay? So the red blood cells are small and they carry oxygen, and the reason they're small and they're kind of round is that they're easy to get through all the blood vessels, all right? White blood cells are kind of bigger, but they're meant to be kind of the bodyguard. They're meant to be a fighter for any of the infections, okay? All that plasma is that it's like fluid or water in the blood that kind of carries nutrients like food and vitamins and all that stuff to all the different parts of our body and our blood vessels, but also gets rid of all that waste that's in there that we don't need. Remember, the platelets are in there as acting like bridges just in case something happens. If something breaks or if something needs repaired, platelets are there to kind of bridge that gap that's broken, or kind of to be a band-aid to kind of clot that blood to make sure that it doesn't spew out and do all that other stuff, okay? So you can either put that diagram down there, or if you want to, you can move it over here as well. I guess I didn't even think about that. Forgot that we did that. And now remember, over here we're going to talk about what kind of evidence we have. So what kind of evidence did we see these past few days to learn about this? Well, we can talk about the microscope view of blood. Okay, we got to see what those structures look like and know. And then in order to figure out what all of those different structures were, what those functions were, like what is a white blood cell or what a white blood cell does, or maybe even what platelets look like or plasma looks like and what its function is we did the what is blood reading. Okay. So those are our two pieces of evidence that we're going to use, okay, to kind of decide what all that is made of. So we've looked at kind of the main parts, the skin, muscle, and bones. We've now looked at blood vessels. In addition to blood vessels, we know that not only are blood vessels found everywhere, we also have nerves found everywhere. So if you flip over your paper, we're going to, this week, in the next 2 days, look at nerves and kind of this idea of why are nerves everywhere in our body and what is it that what purpose do they serve for us and why we have them. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know, but that's kind of the gist of what we've talked about the last few days. Please make sure you have your progress tracker updated. If you need to, you're welcome to move, like I said, your picture over here. I probably should have put it over here. So my nice copy that I'll upload on Canvas will be a little nicer than this, and the picture will be kind of over here instead. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks, guys.